Domestic abuse really is any hurt caused by any partner to the other partner. That's domestic abuse.
It could be siblings, a father and a son, a mother and daughter, father and daughter, or a couple who are in an intimate relationship, or somebody you have a child with, where that one is perpetrating abuse on the other, whether that's emotional abuse, whether it's physical abuse, coercive control, where one person has control over the everyday lives of the other person.
First couple of years were pretty good. I started to notice then that she became quite sort of demanding, and that she had a bit of a temper, throwing things. She wasn't getting her own way. She wouldn't talk to you for a couple of days. That kind of behaviour, but you just thought that was actually quite normal.
Whatever way you do it, whether it's words, whether it's physical, whether it's ignoring, so you don't have to say anything to hurt somebody. You can say terrible things to hurt somebody. You can even physically hit people in relationships. And that's wrong. It's never right to do that in a relationship.
I'd say about 6 to 7 months before I found out that she was cheating on me. I had a feeling that it was happening, so it wasn't really any great surprise when I did actually find out. The kind of unreasonable behaviour started after that, that's when it got worse, you know. Basically, it wasn't allowed sleep. I'd been asked to move into the spare room, tapping on the wall during the night. I think there was one stage that I didn't sleep for 4 nights. I was walking around, I was basically just like a zombie, to be quite honest with you. Anxiety kicked in. It's very hard to actually function. Very, very hard to function. There was a lot of psychological abuse.
When people think of domestic violence, they think about a man beating women and children. They don't normally think about a woman beating the men or the children. You know, so society's perception of domestic abuse would normally be that. You know, so I do think with more men coming forward, which they are, you know, that more awareness, you know, that this does happen to men, that 1 in 3 victims of domestic abuse will be a man. You know, that 88,000 men in this country in 2005, you know, when Watson and Parsons did a study for COSC, found that 88,000 men in this country had suffered severe physical injuries, you know, from a partner.
If I come in from work, she'd start straight away. Trying to kind of suppress that, you know, I was trying to just block that out. Basically became a stranger in my own home. The children from a very young age were manipulated and poisoned, and that was very, very hard to deal with.
Parental alienation is considered a relational phenomenon. That is said to occur in families experiencing high conflict separations and divorces. How can it occur? Essentially what we have is it occurs along a spectrum of mild, moderate to severe. At the mild end of the spectrum, we will have one parent, be it a mother or father, who may be unconsciously behaving in a certain way that is encouraging the children into a loyalty conflict, or essentially into an alliance with one parent with the express intention of excluding the other parent. When we move on to the middle and the severe end of the spectrum, what we find is one parent is pathologically determined, consciously and pathologically determined, to erase one parent from the life of the child. Informed practitioners know very, very well the pervasive psychological, emotional and physical harms that occurs to children, not just now, but across their lifespan, because of these dynamics that they're being subjected to.
It drove my son to self-harming. Just over a year, I think, at that stage. I had been deprived of access to my children at that particular time. It's close on 2 years now. I've had no contact with my children at all. I have tried. I would assume that that's the reason why he was self-harming and had suicidal thoughts. My reaction, yeah, I had suicidal ideology as well.
My study that I conducted recently focused exclusively on the lived experiences of alienated parents here in Ireland. What we found was that the targeted parent was incredibly psychologically distressed over a sustained and enduring period of time. They were denied and robbed of their identity as a parent. They experienced significant financial losses. They experienced significant harms at the hands of uninformed, perhaps well-meaning and well-intentioned, but ultimately uninformed professionals and practitioners. They described how they were unbelieved, misunderstood, treated like common criminals, how they were subjected to multiple false allegations, brought to Garda stations, arrested and charged, losing their jobs, losing their houses. Suicidal ideation became a significant theme in that study.
I attempted suicide, survived, lucky enough, and I'm still here. I walked out in a distressed state because I couldn't watch my children suffer anymore. To be honest, I couldn't watch me suffer and I couldn't watch them suffer. Watching them suffering was having a detrimental effect on me. People can look physically strong on the outside, but the mind is a very fragile, it's very delicate. You know, it's only so much that you can actually absorb, you know. I walked out in a distressed state, basically with the clothes that I had on my back. It was a very, very tough decision to leave my children, but I'd basically become a stranger in my own home, and I had watched them suffer for it. There is no shelters for men to go to. There is no help, there are no shelters. We basically have one organisation that its office hours Monday to Friday. You don't have any facilities, you don't have anywhere to go now.
I came to work in the men's services 5 years ago, and I quickly realised that they don't have very much services here at all. We are the only dedicated service for men who are experiencing domestic violence in Ireland. We have a helpline and it's run 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. We have an outreach service in Dublin once a week. We have one in Kilkenny, Galway and Limerick once a month. We have counselling service, we have group support services, we have a referral service. So if a man contacts us, which we find men might only make one phone call, they're ringing any man, but it's not about domestic abuse, it could be about something else, something completely different. So we refer on to the right services. We give information around legal issues, what you can and can't do, you know, like how to make applications for orders that you might need, legal information around children and custody, guardianship if you're not married, you know, things like that. We give a lot of information around that. We have, as I said, our counselling service for men who need, you know, to come in and talk to somebody professionally about what they're going through. But we are the only service in the country. There are no refuges for men, there are no safe beds for men, and there's nowhere for men to bring their children if they need to flee. So I suppose my experience coming in is watching men, as I'd said, from the refuge. You could see the brave women coming in because they decided to leave. I've seen men come in here to talk to us, but they can't leave, they have nowhere to go. And they're terrified of leaving their children behind in a dangerous situation. So I suppose the experiences here differ in so much that there's just not enough support and not enough help for men who are experiencing domestic violence.
There's very, very little support for men. There's nowhere for the man to go, basically, if he has to leave on the night with his children. There's nowhere for him to turn, there's nowhere for him to go. I think it's slowly being talked about more, very, very slowly. Men have this stigma that because we're physically bigger and physically stronger than most women, that it's kind of embarrassing to admit.
When it comes to domestic abuse around men, they're not good at sharing it with anybody or telling anybody that this is happening. So we're finding it very difficult to get them to actually come out with that. Fortunately, when they do come to counselling, they're likely to, because you can bring it out and help them to, and they don't feel like it's a dangerous place. But they're not going to share that with their friend in the pub, or their guys at school, at work, or at, wherever they might be. They're not going to share it. They can put up with it. They often say, well, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to lose my kids, or I don't want to upset the house, and sure, look, I'll put up with it, and they've done that. They've gone through all of that and said nothing. Remember, most guys grew up with the story that, boys don't cry. They grew up with, sticks or stones, may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. There's a whole rhythm of things that they grew up with, or they saw happening, that sort of made them not have the courage to speak out.
But guys don't seem to realise that it's not all about physical abuse. It's emotional and psychological abuse that scars deeper. By men speaking out, I think that's the only way that we're actually going to get more support, because it could be my son tomorrow that's going through that. It could be my daughter that's going through that as well tomorrow. It could be anybody's children that are going through that, like in the next generation. So I think it is important that the supports are there for both male and females. The helpline is only available from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Domestic abuse is 24/7.
Nobody should have to suffer from domestic abuse, regardless of gender. So everybody deserves and should have the exact same supports, and men should have support in every county. A man should not have to wake up and wait 4 weeks to see a support worker down in Galway. He should be able to see the support worker that day when he decides to make that decision. If a man contacts this helpline and it's busy, he might never ring back again. He might have had that moment of, I'm going to make the call now, and that's it, I'm ready. He rings and he doesn't get an answer because the phones are really busy and we've only got a small amount of staff in there. We might never ring back again. He might have lost at that stage. So yeah, we should have the same supports right around the country for both men and women.
I think it's absolutely vital. If I didn't seek help or offered help, I wouldn't be here today. What I was offered first was group therapy, and I found that to be extremely beneficial because you're listening to other guys talking about their experiences, and it basically encouraged me to open up and talk about mine and realise that I wasn't the only one that was kind of suffering, because you wouldn't have seen, like, friends wouldn't open up about that kind of stuff if it was happening. I presume it wasn't, so it was kind of nice to actually listen to like-minded people that were experiencing the same as what I was. It's very hard for people to understand what somebody's going through unless they've actually experienced it themselves or they've gone through it themselves. I think the most important thing is to actually get to like yourself again. That's the biggest journey I think that we kind of face, is for any human being, whether it be man or woman, is to try and build up our self-esteem. When you kind of do sort of find yourself and understand what life is all about, that it's just basically just another chapter in the book, and that you are the author of your own destiny, that you realise what's important in life, and that's the way that you feel. It's the things that you see, and it's the way that you see much clearer,
When people ask me, are the courts equipped, I'm often reminded of the incredible workload that's placed on the family law courts. I think that there are plenty of passionate legal practitioners out there who do the best that they can with incredibly limited resources. During our conference in Trinity earlier this year, we had a barrister, Brendan Kildee, reference that he had done a short analysis, and he reckoned that judges had about 3 minutes per case on any given day listed in the family law courts. And so straight away there we can see that there are, certainly on an operational day-to-day level, there's supports and resources that need to be brought to bear there.
The courts are choked up, to be quite honest, with the volume of separation and divorce cases, children, custodial battles, etc. It's a long drawn out process that I think really needs to be reduced.
I think when a person wants to abuse the system, they can. I've seen on both sides, and I've seen where, somebody has gone and I suppose used the court to obtain a protection order, you know, to use as another form of, as a weapon, I suppose, to the guy and say to him, well, look, now you have to do what I did because I've gone and gotten this protection order. And there didn't have to be any proof when applying for a protection order. It's, you know, the judge just listens to your story, and if he believes that you're in a dangerous situation, he will give it.
I think it's important that the legal system realises that there is a human side to this. It's not just about having a day in court and who's going to be a winner. I think it needs to be dealt with an awful lot quicker and smoother, because I think the longer that the legal system drags this out, I think the more casualties there are, and that's namely the children.
These are powerful orders that can have somebody ended up in criminal court or ending up with a criminal conviction as well. So there needs to be a certain, I suppose, different way of doing things. You know, have a level of proof when you're going in for the initial order. You know, have it quickened up that the hearing is the following week, rather than the hearing being 8 or 10 weeks down the road. You know, so that both sides are heard and it's not used in a wrong way, and the people who do need it get it quickly.
There is a human side to this, you know. Everybody's a casualty. There are no winners, like there definitely are no winners, you know. The husband doesn't win, the wife doesn't win, the children don't win. There are no winners.
So what message do I have for any parent or child out there who might be affected by parental alienation? So I suppose for the parent, I would encourage the parent to do what he or she can to maintain either direct or indirect contact with their child or children. I would invite them to consider the idea that they could take every and any opportunity to send a very clear message to their child or children that is really, really important to convey to them that at every opportunity that they as a parent are still there, they still care for them, and they still love them, and that they are pushing an open door should the child ever wish to stand at that door. In terms of the child, if there's any children out there, the message I would say to those children and young people would be that this is not your fault, and it is not okay to be put in a position to choose one parent to make the other parent happy.
For the men out there, you know, who are suffering, you know, whether it's physical or, you know, or coercive control or mental abuse, domestic abuse is not only about injuries. Domestic abuse is about the constant, you know, emotional abuse, the constant telling you you're worthless, you know, the constant name calling, you know, financial abuse, not having access to funds, not having credit on your phone, you know, being controlled. Domestic abuse is all about being controlled. And if that's happening to you, you know, like, go on the website, have a look on our website, you'll see the signs, and, you know, and call us. We can help you, you know, we can help you in what it is that you want to do. We will never tell you what to do. No, we will never tell you what to do, but whatever you want to do and wherever you want to take it, we will be there every step of the way with you going forward. You know, but make the call.
The advice that I'd have for any man is to open up, is to speak with somebody. That's the only way they're going to find support, and to look after themselves, and to realise that there might be some light at the end of the tunnel. You mightn't have what you had in the past, but you will become a better, stronger person with the right support and by opening up.